with Jet, what I guess what have you been told about him? And obviously he's a guy that played 4 games last year, went back to juniors. What have you been told, and what do you see? I guess what are your early impressions?
Well, before even just to see him, the organization is very high on him. If you look at his attributes, great skater, hockey IQ is really good. I was watching him shoot the puck. There's a lot to like. So for me, when you get a guy like that can skate, good hockey brain, and he's a centerman, I mean, it excites you as a coaching staff. I know the coaches were like, man, off the rush or something, he separates himself from people. So those are the things that you want in your lineup.
Obviously, he's got the speed and he's got the high Q. You just mentioned them. Those are 2 things that when you have those maybe 2 aspects of your game as a foundation, does that make it easier to potentially make the jump? And
yeah, I mean, listen, we all, when I play, when you have separation, speed, and then the hockey part, the hockey brain, I mean, those check the boxes. Now you need reps. I mean, I know last year, he was down and he played in the minors and stuff like that. But he needs a lot of reps and stuff like that. So, we're going to get him some exhibition games, see what he's got because, he's pushing for a spot. He's pushing for a spot, definitely.
How do you balance with him? One of the criticisms last year was he doesn't shoot enough. And you kind of mentioned his shot today. But how do you balance maybe having, talking to him about shooting more, but also making sure he doesn't lose those other elements that he's so good at?
Yeah. Well, that comes from experience. I was talking to Johnny and Claire about it. For him, it's a mentality to shoot a lot of pucks. Now, listen, he's really good at dishing and the speed part. And I don't like using the word courage, but you got to have, sometimes you just got to shoot the puck. He beats somebody. It's his shot. Don't look for a pass. Shoot it. And it takes a lot of confidence to do that. So I think sometimes young guys defer. I mean, I remember I was a young kid. You get it. You skate, and you feel, I better give it to somebody, and I think that he's just got to be a little more selfish when it comes like that. But yeah, no, that stuff will come with experience.
Rick, you mentioned yesterday, and then Sam Harrison, we talked to him a few minutes ago, echoed it about the concept of making the goalie only have to worry about half the net. I don't know how detailed you want to or even can get into tactically, but how do you go about implementing that with this team, given the fact that it was a problem last year, with the odd man rushes, with cross-slot passes and things like that?
Well, to me, that's that's about the crest. That's what I talk to the players about. We want to be a hard team to play against, and there's nothing worse when you play a team that you get nothing. After the game, team goes, man, you get nothing. You get a couple looks here and there. It frustrates a team. So, but it's hard. You have to be diligent. You got to really buckle in when it comes to that. It's a lot of practice time. You got to know exactly the situation. I told the players yesterday, and then today we worked on our D zone stuff. Is you're going to be tired, and that's where you really got to buckle down. That's where the goalie, if he knows where the puck is, he's got a better chance of stopping the puck. So we're going to keep working on that. We get the puck. You saw we had a lot of transition yesterday and today on 3-on-2s and stuff, and you saw guys make some really good plays. That's good. Make a play. If you make a mistake, I get it. But without the puck, you got to know where you're going. I don't care who you are, and that's just the way we're going to be playing this year. Is without the puck, we have to be a hard team to play against.
How much would you say is tactical, and how much of it is just sheer effort?
Well, there's a lot of tactics. I mean, there's stuff that you tweak and you want, but there is good old fashioned. Just get the job done. You got to win your battles. A lot of D zone coverage. You want to outman the other team. If you look at the camera above, we have a teaching tool. A lot of things, it's R3 against their 2. If they get the puck out of that, consistently, you're going to be in trouble. But if we can win those battles or with technique, it doesn't have to be just always aggression and hitting and stuff. It's about, you can use your brain. That's what I was telling Trevor Zegras today. He can use his brain to out-muscle guys. It's not always, he's not going to out-muscle everybody down low, but he can do it with his brain, and I think that will come with a lot of our players.
To play off of that a little bit, when we talked in May, you mentioned you don't do man-to-man. You believe more in zone, in defensive zone.
Well, it's an aggressive zone, yes.
Yeah, but in the defensive zone. So how does that strategy, when you implement playing zone, how does that kind of cut the ice in half a little bit? How does that work in terms of creating Is it just pushing guys, the other team maybe to one half, or?
Well, that's a technique you can, and that organically sometimes happens. But if you get spread out, that's when you got to really calm down. You start chasing all over the ice. That's when the holes open. So it's a good question because I wish I had a board I could have a video, but no, I think if you look at all the good teams, they're comfortable when the other team has the puck on the outside. Like there's no panic. Give them the outside. They want to shoot the puck from the outside. Our goal that's on our goalies. So that's what we're going to really teach a lot this year. Yeah, we want to be aggressive. We want to double up, and that's another thing that teaching guys they'll ask, when do I go? When don't you go? That will come with experience. But we want to squash plays. We want to cut resets off. We want to get it to the points. We want to do all those things that every team wants to do. So I think it's more of it's honestly it's every day learning a new thing. Like we talked about transfers today. When the puck goes from one side to the other, who goes where? It was a little bit different, I think, from last year. So now you got to reteach why. And so far the guys like that, and hopefully we can continue with that positive feeling that they like.
You're pretty vocal guys. You tell them to talk a lot. I mean, that's a big thing in the defensive zone is when to release and when not to release, and who I got this guy. I got this guy.
That communication's big, and sometimes you have quiet guys on your team, and you can't be quiet on the ice. You can be quiet, and I don't care if you go to dinner, you're quiet or you're quiet, but when it hits the ice, you got to bark out orders. I got this guy. All good defensive teams is communication. It could be. It doesn't have to always be verbal. It could be pointing or something like that, or somebody just dictating. Sometimes, you look like a Couturier. He's got a good hockey brain when it comes to D zone, and I was watching him today. He didn't know, say Mishkov, that he didn't know where he was going. He kind of waits to see what he does, and then he reacts up. That's a good hockey player. He doesn't just go, oh, Tocchet, I have to go. Well, no, I can't go because this guy, the kid might have made a mistake, so he covers up for him. That's good defensive teams covering up for each other too.
Fair to say then that's kind of the balance we talked about yesterday then, right? Like having got, Sean is very good defensively, having him with a Matvey who maybe needs to work on his defensive zone a little bit.
Yeah, but I there's some good things like it's just reps, stacking good reps together, good practice together. That's how you become good at something. So I was impressed with a lot of guys today. I mean, it's the first day you're talking D zone coverage and stuff, and I thought they did a nice job. So we'll tackle it again. We're going to scrimmage tomorrow, so we want to see what these 2 days what we saw these 2 days into the scrimmage tomorrow.
You talked about Mishkov's competitiveness yesterday. Today he knocked down a defenseman and sets up a goal. Are you surprised at how competitive he is, given how smaller he is, and he's very skillful too? Did that surprise you at all?
No, not at all. I've been told a lot of good things about him, from upstairs. For me, he's just got to keep stacking the good stuff together. We had the skate at the end, and he led the pack. Yeah. I like that. He took it, and I got to admit, he had three hard laps. Like he didn't. I don't want guys to pace themselves, and he didn't pace himself. So that's a start for me.
What have you seen from Sam Merson?
From who?
Sam Merson, sorry.
He's an intelligent goalie. He's a big goalie. Not a lot of unnecessary movement. But to be honest, I haven't really watched the goalies that much, to be honest with you. But I do like big goalies that there's not a lot of movement. And when you have those guys, they look big, and hopefully they stop those pucks that they should be stopping.
How's the communication been with Matvey? Because he was up here yesterday and he said that he better understands English, so there's no excuses, I think is what he said. Are you communicating with him in English, or how's it, what's that?
Well, there's hockey language too. I was just on the ice working on a couple things, talking to stuff, and you can communicate sometimes just with hockey, with action. But for me, I think this year with him, yes, I wasn't on the last year, so I don't know how his English was, but there are parts. No, there's going to be some challenges, but I still think, and I think we have a great guy who hangs out with us, Slava, who's his interpreter. But we're going to have to take the safety net away sometimes. We don't always have to have him around. I think sometimes he's got to. It's probably learn faster without sometimes a guy. So, but don't get me wrong, we need him and we'll have him around. But sometimes, I need Matt to be with the coaches with no interpreter, and we'll select those days because it's important that we get that safety net away from him.
A couple couple of years ago, Sanheim and York were the team's clearly number one defense pairing, and then last year it got broken up a little bit, circumstances, injuries, so
Sure.
on. Were you aware of that, and also would you like to see maybe put that group back together again?
I mean, those two guys would be a good pair, yeah, I think. But right now, I'd like to spread it out and see what we got. It looks like Sandy can play with anybody. He looks good out there. I think Yorkie's I think he's had a good summer. Unless I don't want to. We all 32 coaches do that. We don't want to overvalue things in the first 2 days. But I have liked York out there a lot. And like I said, he's just got to keep stacking good practices together. And I got to get to know him better too. You know, it's not like I spent a lot of time with him or Todd Reardon. He will. I think Todd's going to really help him too. But we need him to be a leader back there, Yorkie, and I think he can carry his own pair if we need him.
It's no secret that Cam, struggled at times
Yeah.
under John Tortorella. They maybe didn't have the best relationship.
Sure.
Do you get the sense that he sees this as a new opportunity for himself to kind of start fresh with a new coach?
Yeah, I don't know. I just see he's, the interaction I have with him. I think he's a kind of a quiet guy, but the guys that he knows, I think Quinn Hughes he knows him really well. I think he's eager. I know those guys or whatever. So obviously, he's a well-liked guy. And like I said, some guys are quiet guys. I want him to be this. I'm not going to change his personality. I just want him to understand that we need him, as a leader in the team back there. And I think he's just got to be aggressive in his blue line. I really liked his blue lines, offensive on the blue line. I think there's something there. I saw it in the World Juniors. I think he ran the power play at the top. Is there a spot there that he can maybe play the power play for? Maybe, because I want to see that.
Yogi Sikorsky, why do you think he was the right guy to bring in to coach your power play? And what kind of mind does he have for the power play?
Well, him and Jay Verdi.
Will they both kind of oversee?
Yep. Well, they're great communicators, excellent at teaching concepts. We're not about plays, we're about concepts. And I think when you have guys like Konechny and Mishkov and Forrester could be a good power play. You got to be careful. You don't want to make these guys robotic. Sometimes power plays are robotic. It's like football. It's like you're going here. It's a little different. If the PK does this, your concept is, what is your concept from that? I don't want to bore you guys, go too far, but I think we got to let these guys be carefree. But there's also concepts you got to, you beat pressure, we have to attack the interior. I didn't see that much last year. You got to be able to, to take those shots from the middle of the point to open up power plays. You got to take that shot too. So we got to make sure that whoever's up there he's going to bomb away if that's what the team's going to give us. Whatever the team gives you and it's a grade A, you take it. We're not looking for tic-tac-toes. If they're there, take it. But I think to me, be aggressive, take it to the hole. The best power plays are the teams that break pressure and they attack. So that's what we're going to do.